Okay. Yes, right. You look beautiful. So, welcome back to SMMASh. We are here in the home school of Sifu David Hatch and David Lynda Hatch, who's behind the camera for us today. And it's a real treat to be back in this amazing space, full of a lot of history and so much of the Filipino martial art and the JKD, the Thai boxing. So many of the very popular common arts that we see in Southeast Michigan today have come to us from this space and from these two individuals. So it's, again, a real treat to be here. Sifu Dave, I really appreciate your time. Again, you know, as I said, I really truly believe, and I talk to people about this all the time, in particular where the Inosanto blend of martial art is concerned. You and Simo Lynda act as, I don't know, you're kind of like the godfather and godmother of this community here, you know. You're some of the first people to bring these arts popularly to all of us in Southeast Michigan. When did you guys start your training with Guro Inosanto?
Well, we didn't actually start until probably 1985.
Okay.
That's when we attended our first seminar.
Okay. I was born in 82, so that goes back far enough, right?
Well, that was our first seminar. It was, in those days, the seminars are 8 hours long a day.
Oh, wow.
And that first one we went to was both Guru Dan and Larry Hartzell.
Oh, great. Okay. And that was in Michigan?
That was in Michigan. A guy named Dan Timlin
Okay.
and his wife Tammy. They brought him out, so that's how we found out about it.
Okay.
I mean, we were already black belts at the time. And,
In what style or system?
Actually, it's called, it's a stem from Japanese Shito-ryu,
Okay.
but they called it American Karate.
Oh, all right. Sure.
There's a school called Karate and Judo Schools of America.
Okay.
By our first instructor, Larry Malo. And so we got our black belts there. It was hardcore fighting and everything, mostly sparring. And so we got our black belts there, and we realized, you know, we were always Bruce Lee fans anyway. I mean,
sure.
everybody, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, back in '67, I used to watch the Green Hornet and
Yeah,
everything.
cool.
And it was like me. I knew Kato was Bruce Lee. A lot of people back then didn't know who Kato was. You know?
Right.
So anyway,
And yet in Hong Kong, didn't they call it the Kato show?
Yeah,
right?
the Kato show.
It's completely different
Once it
perspective.
goes
Yeah.
here, over there. Totally different.
Yeah.
But it was neat. It was a big inspiration to see him.
Okay.
You know? It was back in those days in '67. It was even though Steve Reeves was a bodybuilder back earlier, but he was still kind of popular then. So it was ideal to be built like Steve Reeves and fight like Bruce Lee.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
That was
right.
Ideal. For
Yeah.
him to have. But so our first seminar with Guro it blew our minds. We realized how much we don't know.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because he did single stick, double stick, dagger, stick and dagger, empty hands. And then Larry Hartzell comes in, does the trapping and the grappling. And we're like, oh, our heads were like...
And did a lot of that content feel new or foreign, as it were, to the experience that you'd had thus far as karate practitioner?
Most of it was new because of the weaponry.
Okay.
You know, as far as empty hands, the kicking, punching, that was no problem. Other than it was more boxing than it was,
Yeah.
you know, regular.
And that structure was
stuff.
different then?
Slightly different. Right?
Okay. Had you done much grappling before that?
Very little. It was a lot of China.
Oh, okay.
wrist locks
Sure,
and things
sure.
like that. And whatever grappling they do at the club, which wasn't a whole lot.
Okay.
They called it karate and judo schools at the time because they were coming out, this is what, 60s, yeah, late 60s. Because our instructor was tired of all these club battles between one another. So he got a bunch of investors together and opened up this club. And it was from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Oh, wow.
training. You had group workouts and then you had individual workouts.
Okay.
And they had these Zorbalite mats, which is you see now as wrestling mats.
Sure, right.
And we had those. A little bit of grappling, but the judo wasn't popular. You know, it just sort of faded out. Because Black Belt magazine, babe, at that time, you had a section on judo and a section on karate. And slowly but surely, the judo was fading out and the karate was taking over.
Right. Just the striking in general has
Right.
become more popular. Okay.
So we were all excited, you know, about Bruce Lee. We got our black belts, and the schools, the karate judo schools, started to close down. And so we trained here in the basement with some friends. And one of our friends was Dean Cruikshank, who was the father of Darren Cruikshank in the MMA group.
Yeah.
So we used to train together, and then he came and said, look, Guru Dan Inosanto coming in. So we got a hotel and everything. Go
Sure.
over there. And
do you remember, did he like catch a flyer about that, or how he had heard about
it? Was
it?
in Black Belt magazine.
Oh, wow, okay.
Back then,
yeah, like in the
magazines
classifieds?
had the
Yeah,
classifieds.
right.
And that's what we did when we started bringing Guru out.
Okay.
Years later.
Okay.
Until they stopped doing that.
Yeah,
But,
right.
But that was the way you found out about
Okay.
these seminars. So yeah, that was the big seminar. So after that, we went to see Dan and Timlin in Lansing and trained with them a little while. Got some private group sessions with them.
Okay.
And started getting the feel of how to do the stick work because it was
Yeah.
totally new.
Right.
I mean, I got the footage of us way back then
Wow.
trying to do high, low, high. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God.
And you're also, I should point out, like the Michigan keeper of records for these things too, you know? Like, excuse me, we were with Sifu Rick Fay this last weekend, and he was talking about you as your notes and as a note taker. And, you know, I've seen one or two things that you showed me in the past just from your own notes, and man, it's a genuine treasure trove. So that's one of the reasons I'm excited to just be in here. You know, I'm trying to not be distracted while you talk. You know? It's a room full of secrets, man.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of stuff we gathered. You know,
Yeah,
a lot
it's
of
wonderful.
information. There's one of the guys I'd always listened to was a guy named Jim Rohn, who's a famous businessman.
Okay.
But the stuff that he talked about also applied in martial arts,
Hmm.
you know, business and everyday life. And his big thing was gather all the information you can.
Okay.
You know, write it down.
Yeah.
Take notes. You know.
In your professional life, you were an engineer?
I was an engineer,
Okay.
product engineer for Ford Motor Company with the transmissions. And Lynda was a computer programmer analyst.
Do you think that both of those career paths influenced your note taking, that, you know, that sort of technical approach to gathering data and applying it in some way?
Yes,
Okay.
to structure it.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know, look at it and say, okay, this is double stick, and here's the format that we follow. And Guro had a good format of how he presented the material,
Okay.
which is good because, you know, you're lost. What do I practice first?
Right.
You know, you don't know what to do. And he was a big help in that aspect.
Okay.
Even
Do you
though
mind
it was hard for him because, again, you got beginners, you got intermediate, you got advanced people.
right.
And how do you teach all these people at
Right.
one time?
He always says I have everyone from kindergarten to college professor in one room, right? Which is such a great way to describe that. It's like the entire scope of education, and he has to teach everybody at once.
Yes.
I can't even imagine that feeling. So, do you have any suggestions, if you don't mind sharing, or just kind of a peek at when you talk about structuring your notes? I think note taking is a genuine art. As a just a student at high school, middle school, and these things, I was always really bad at taking notes. And as a martial artist, I've really tried to get better at it and to just be more intentional about taking notes and remembering to do that. Because I know it serves me better down the road. Even just the act of writing or typing something up helps me to remember it. Yes. But when I go back and read it, it's all over the map. Right, there's every direction. I'm like, did I pick this notepad up upside down and not even care? You know, how do you like to structure that information so that it's more efficient later?
Well, first of all, you try to get some type of shorthand that you can think
Okay.
of for anything, whatever it is. And the more seminars you attend and classes, you'll start coming up with stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
in shorthand. And the number one thing to do is after you write those notes, because you got to write fast, you're picking stuff up, is the next day immediate, if not that day, rewrite it, because you will forget what you
Right.
know.
Right.
And after being in seminars a while, you got shortcuts. Probably the hardest thing to take notes on is grappling. How do you describe this, and how do you describe the stick here
Right.
behind the neck and under the arm?
Especially with shorthand.
You're
Yeah.
trying to think, oh, you know.
Right.
So a lot of times if something's repeated, that's what's good about attending seminars regularly or classes regularly, because you'll see it again.
Right.
And you see it again, and you go, oh yeah, can I see that? And
Yeah.
I see what I missed last time, and you add that to your notes.
Yeah.
A lot of times now when I write notes, because we've had the experience, I just said the usual.
Yes. Right.
Kickboxing usual.
Yeah.
And if there's something
Yeah.
new, I write the new stuff.
I had a similar thing with the teachers that I had right before I met you and Sima Linda was at the tractor school, right, in New Jersey. And so it was Chris Harley and George Larson and Paul Bonner and Cody, if you remember her. So Minnesota College Group people. And so I found my old notebook several years into training. And one of the things on there, on one page, it said, push the first arm, pull the second one, punch face, right? And then elsewhere on that page it said, what is Pox out? And then later going back, I must have at some point drawn an arrow from what is Pox out to like the answer of push the arm and hit, you know? Yeah. And it's exactly that same thing where, yeah, now if I'm taking notes, I'll just write Poc. Right, so or like you don't have to describe every movement. So I'm sure with grappling or something that becomes where you can just say that's a triangle, you know, yes. Instead of going well the leg and then how do you know, yes. Having to break every movement apart. Right. So, so then not only is the correct structure valuable, but like repetition and awareness of what those things are. Right. Okay.
Another thing that helps too, because sometimes your notes you can only recall so much.
Right.
What we try to do, we did, Lynda and I will go to seminars. At first it was difficult because Lynda not being able to hear, she's watching Guru Dan and Guru Dan shows what to do and he also showed what not to do. Now Lynda didn't know.
Oh,
so
interesting.
when we had our 3 minutes to work, she's doing what we're not supposed to do.
Right.
And so by the time I correct her, time's up. So we didn't get a chance to practice.
Interesting.
So for the first year in seminars, I went by myself. So I can get a good feel for it, then show her when I get home.
Okay.
Another thing we did after a while is we'd have our video camera with us, and after the seminar we'd go through the notes and videotape the best that we remember how the motions
of yourselves.
Of ourselves, yeah.
Right.
And that helped a lot.
Yeah.
That was a big, we call those video notes.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Helps a lot.
Okay. And then, so you guys were already at least training partners, if not together, you know, like in your personal life. When did you two meet, and when did you, at least your training, if not your personal relationship, begin?
Oh, geez, it happened in junior college.
Okay.
I went in Henry Ford Community College, and I ended up going there because, first of all, they taught drafting, which I was excellent in high school. They didn't have college prep courses. I didn't take them in high school, so I didn't think I was going to go to college. So I decided to do that. My friend says, yeah, go here. And then my friend brings the newspaper article of Henry Ford Community College, and it talked about a karate club.
Oh,
I said,
wow.
I'm going there.
Yeah, cool.
That's where I'm going.
Right.
So I got both the karate, and it was free.
Yeah, sure.
Part of the school. So I was there for the first year, or first half a year. And then Lynda came in the next semester as a student.
Okay.
And she had long red hair. And she was in there, and she's exercising, and she's doing the leg raises and everything. And I was an assistant instructor by that point. Although the first day I just watched them. And I saw Lynda was really going. You know? She's in shape, and these other guys are moaning and groaning. And then the next week, I came in to help assist. Well, we had quite a few people there, and the instructor's giving commands, and everybody's doing their 2 punches. And I look at Lynda, something wasn't quite right. Her fist wasn't quite right or something. And Lynda's saying, no, that's not true. But I came up to correct her. And so she's in the front row. I correct her, and so she stops, you know, so I could correct her. And then I tell her, okay, go on with the rest of the class. So the instructor would walk behind the front row, and he gave the command. Everybody did the 2 punches, and then Lynda did the 2 punches. And I thought, what's going on? So I said, look, keep going. And she said, yeah. Still, she was behind. Finally, this counselor says, come here. He says, the woman's deaf. She I go, oh, God.
Oh, right.
But from that point on, I always tried to make sure she could read my lips. And she read my lips very well. She was brought up to do that.
Okay.
And not everybody is 100% reading lips, but she did pretty good. And I'm thinking, wow, this is great. You know, so I get to talk with her, and then she'd ask questions of what to do for her testing and belts. And so that's how we got together quite often, working out. And we liked each other. And we had an issue. We'd be talking, and all of a sudden, I see her frowning at me as I'm talking. I'm thinking, what the heck? You know, and she didn't understand one of the words I said in the sentence. And I thought, oh, God, I didn't know sign language at all at the time. And
Right.
So she gives me pencil and paper. I said, well, how smart. Why didn't I think of that?
Sure.
So I start to write, and I thought, oh, my God, she's going to see I'm a bad speller. It's like, oh, my God. But she looked at it, corrected the spelling, and said, okay. Yeah. But the thing
I feel like these are all still good descriptions of the both of you. You know, like you're describing Sima Lynda as being somebody who's moving really well while everyone else, all the guys are falling apart, and like that's still true today. You know, at every seminar that I see, and, and I'm sure she's still correcting you.
Yeah, well, you know, it happens where a lot of words she reads them. but she'd never seen them on the lips.
Oh, interesting. Sure.
So
yeah.
reading it in the lips. So
Yeah.
that's new to her.
So how has those, like, sort of being, I guess, how has navigating that as training partners affected the way that you train? Right, being that tactile and being that plugged in and that aware and observant of each other, it has to, I feel like, manifest.
Well, the visual aspect, Linda's very visual, so she has to see what it's like. Now, when it comes to trapping or hitting the stick, she goes by the feel.
Okay.
So she can feel the rhythm for
Okay.
the sticks and stuff. Now, when it comes to the trapping, that's feeling.
Right.
And Sifu Francis has helped us a lot with that as well, as Guru Dan. And Larry Hartzell as well.
Okay.
But the feeling, she senses it, and she can go when to move quickly, and then she watches. And she has to be very visual of what's going on. Like me, with my glasses, if I'm sparring, I have the glasses off. Now that's a new world. You know?
Right.
'Cause you got blurry vision.
Right.
The speed of the punch or kick is blurred.
Yeah.
Plus the blurred vision, it's invisible.
Right.
So you start to learn to watch the body, the
Interesting.
shoulders, which way they move. If this is going to punch, the body, upper body moves away, it's going to be a kick.
Yeah, that's, I think, an element that a lot of people don't touch on or talk about when it comes to sparring. It's like, okay, you know, can we take timing sparring, and is that going to be good enough to, you know, get somebody prepared, or can we add or subtract elements in this game while we're sparring? Just the simple fact of, because I wear contacts, but I know when I get one knocked loose from sparring, which happens almost every session, right? And now you're pawing around on the floor one eye. But, you know, if you say, okay, well, I'm going to keep going, now I've got no depth perception. And so it really changes even your core temperature a little bit once you can't see so well, right? And you're not always prepared. You know, if you're going to get in the ring, then I guess you have a solution for that. But, you know, you're not sleeping with your glasses on. If you had to pop awake at night to protect yourself or something, you got to be able to do that. So
Exactly.
what other arts then have you studied along the way? I guess if you could think of a list off the top of your head, even if it's just sampling. I'm always kind of curious.
Well, we did try to sample. We did, when we were still in karate, we were trying to sample a baton. There's a book on how to use the baton, and they sent you 2 plastic batons to play
Interesting,
with.
yeah.
So we got a little few motions there, and that was about it.
Is that like a law enforcement style baton, like that?
It was, I forget the name of the master that had the book out. And but we just tried to practice it.
Okay.
We showed how to have the reverse grip, where the stick is this way.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
Turn it like that.
Right.
And it was for baton training. And that's about it we knew. You know.
Yeah.
That was it. So we just did that. We, like I said, the chin out, we tried to learn a little bit of that. I didn't like it so much because I thought, well, guy's going to come punch you and kick you. How am I going to get a lock on this guy? You know?
Right.
And I approached Guru Dan about that later on in seminars, and he's doing lock. I said, Guru, I said, I don't get it. How am I going to get the punch? How am I going to get the lock? This guy's hitting me. And he just did a split entry, poked me in my throat. Dumag, you know, and I come down and he had the first lock. And I'm going, for crying out loud. You know, that's it. Why didn't I think of that? Because, you know, all the other systems, you have to wait till they grab you.
Yeah, sure.
You know, you got to try to catch them.
Right.
So
Yeah, snatch the punch out of the air.
Yeah.
And right.
And
Right.
like Linda's hands are smaller. And for her to do some of the locks were tough. So she goes to Guru and says, complains that, you know, his hands are too big, you know, my hands are too small. Well, actually, Guru's fingers were shorter than Linda's.
Oh, wow.
You know, and he showed, oh, Linda, that's not a problem. He took me, remember that one lock Rick Fay did with putting a hand in?
Yes, right.
Guru did that to me.
Huh.
He just put it in there, like, went like this, one hand, one arm, just like that. And I went to the floor. I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He's so amazing with all this.
Well, and he's such a great example then of that, like, the factor of size is only as limited as you make it, right? You know, and I mean, there's weight divisions for a reason, right? So obviously size is a factor, but when you watch him move or you have those experiences, like, it's not as big of a factor as you might think when somebody knows how to do that. I always find that particularly true watching him demonstrate Silat with Guru Joel, right? Because he can fit into some of those spaces in ways that I'm too lumbering or tall or awkward to do, you know? And you see him do it, like, that's part of that finesse, is he can just, you know, like a puzzle piece right into those spots. It's really wonderful.
Well, to answer your question about other arts, we didn't really do many other arts.
Okay.
And so when we met Guru Dan, then we were more exposed to it.
Right.
You know, we did a little boxing, but I thought I hated boxing, too committed, and getting hit in the face all the time. But then when I talked to Larry, Sifu Larry Hartzell, he said, you know, the only reason you're learning boxing is so you can counter it.
Right.
And I thought, that's right.
Yeah.
So I got to know what they do.
Yeah.
So that got me enthused to want to get more into the boxing skills.
Okay.
My hands are always fast anyway, so it fit in. Right?
Okay.
I just needed the more power to get into it. Before I got my black belt, my instructor says, Dave, you got to get meaner. I mean, mean. Now, see, mean to me just didn't, you know, I had a strict father who was mean. I said, no, that's not it. I don't get it. You know. And then one day I saw Enter the Dragon. And the beginning of the show when he tells this kid to kick, and he says, I want emotional content, and the kid goes rolling. I said, there it is, mean. You got to be mean. But then he slaps the kid and says, I said, emotional content, not anger.
I said emotional content, not anger. Now try again.
And that bing light bulb went off in my head. I said, just got to enjoy it and go into it and feel it and do it. You know?
Yeah, so can you expand on that a little bit, on the difference between that emotional content and because I think we all have a tendency to say, well, we're looking at fighting, so it's going to be this emotion, and that might be slightly different for everyone, but anger is the logical one, right? You know, especially things like movies give us insight into fighting as reason, like it's revenge, or it's, you know, all these different things. And so I think in particular to the beginner martial artist, like, well, I guess that's why I'm doing this, because I'm mad, and that may not be the case at all. But you still had the experience that you needed a little bit of something to it. What was that, without being too personal? Kind of where's that from?
What it is, it's a drive to feel that I want to get it accomplished.
Okay.
And it enhanced when Jim Rohn talks about communication skills. He says words are really important. And so I equated words with techniques. Techniques are also important. And then he brought up the fact that you need to make those words more effective, you need emotional content. And I thought, well, that's exactly what Bruce Lee was talking about, emotional content for the techniques. You know? And then he says, but emotions must go to school. So you have to learn where to put in the strong emotions, where to put it in easy, like going. You know, there's Paul Vunek would always say, you know, we want to injure to degree.
Yes,
You know, do we need to really blast this guy, or we just need to control him?
Yeah, some awareness of that spectrum.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you just have to know in your mind when to click it on, when to click it off.
Okay.
You know, when the pressure's coming on, you better click it on.
Yeah.
But be able to click it on and click it off, or adjust the meter. Do I need to pour it on hard, or I need to be light?
What we do is, if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do?
Put it up to 11.
11, exactly.
Do I need to turn the hose on a full blast, or just need a little sprinkle right now?
Is that a switch or like a dial for you? You know what I mean? Since it's progressive.
Because if switch, you're there, you're off. You know. No, I want it adjusted.
Okay.
You know, where do I put it in heavy? When I put it hard? If the person's resisting you too much, you try to adjust them, and then you turn your switch on. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're turning your switch on, he's got to switch your banging like this.
Sure.
So you don't want that.
Right. Do you have an actual process you go through for that, or is it just sort of like a habitual now?
It's habitual now,
Yeah.
but you can do it when you do Carenza. If you do Carenza, you're just going through the motions. You know, now you start putting more feeling into it. You know?
Even like
It's
shadow boxing, any kind of solo
right.
practice of
Any solo practice, you just put your mind, say, I want more into this. I ease up on it, nice and slow, and then I can pour it in hard and easy. That's usually the way I do
great,
it.
yeah.
And that's how I adjust it all the time.
So you're constantly getting repetition of that process, right? Very cool. Okay.
Because you want that to ingrain into your movements.
Okay. So, and presumably so that it comes out when it needs to, without you having to go, time out, I gotta get.
Right. Yeah, I gotta do it. Well, hey, you know, I don't know if you've experienced this, and we did this a lot of time because we sparred a lot in karate schools. As soon as you get slapped in the face, whoa, everything, that's it.
Yeah, when you hear some of those methods that I don't want to incorrectly attribute them to, you referenced Paul Vunek, but my understanding is there's some of that of, you know, you're getting slapped, or, you know, I've heard of like screaming in the mirror and stuff like things to really get that state access fired up, and those things are wild in that they work, but there's a certain intensity to that, you know.
Right, it's just mental.
Yeah,
it's really mental.
right.
You just got to in your head say this is it or this is not it.